Captain Dong-hyun watched three massive shapes drop out of hyperspace near his position. The human fleet was now complete, 4 battleships against 2,000 Vorthan vessels. By any normal calculation, it was suicide. "Welcome to the party," came Captain Jinwoo's voice over the communication channel. His ship Steadfast was the newest in the human fleet, built using lessons learned from Earth's final wars. "Good to see you, Jinwoo," Dong-hyun replied. "Yoonji, Minho, status report." Captain Yoonji of the Retribution spoke first. "All weapons systems online. My crew is ready for a fight." Her ship was built for close combat with heavy armor and powerful short-range weapons. "Stormbringer is ready," added Captain Minho. His ship was different from the others. It carried fighters and assault troops instead of just heavy guns. "My pilots are eager to show these aliens what human fighters can do." Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Unity. It was a coalition vessel, rebuilt with human weapons and armor. His mixed crew of humans and aliens worked together at their stations. "Human fleet, this is Admiral Taemin," he said. "Coalition forces are moving into position. We have 60 ships ready for battle." "Acknowledged, Admiral," Dong-hyun replied. "Remember the plan. Stay close to our ships. Use our point defense to protect your vessels." On the long-range sensors, the Vorthan fleet was massive. It filled space like a moving city of death. Emperor Mordak had brought everything he had. This was meant to be the final battle of the war. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Jong-ho, "I'm reading over 2,000 enemy vessels, dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, destroyers, and support ships. This is the largest fleet in recorded galactic history." "Understood," Dong-hyun said calmly. "Young-soo, are your electronic warfare systems ready?" Specialist Young-soo looked up from his station. "Yes, sir. I've been studying Vorthan communication protocols. Their fleet coordination depends on constant data sharing between ships. If I can disrupt that, do it." The battle began before anyone fired a shot. Young-soo's electronic warfare attack hit the Vorthan fleet like an invisible hammer. Suddenly, 2,000 ships could not talk to each other properly. Orders became confused. Formation flying became impossible. "Sir, Vorthan fleet coordination is breaking down," Jong-ho reported. "They're having communication problems." Emperor Mordak appeared on the main screen. He was larger than other Vorthans with golden armor and angry red eyes. "Humans, you dare use trickery against the Empire?" "Emperor," Dong-hyun replied. "You brought 2,000 ships to fight 4. Who is really using trickery here? Numbers are not trickery. They are strength. Attack formation Alpha. Destroy the human ships." The Vorthan fleet tried to form an attack formation, but without proper communication, it became a confused mass. Groups of ships moved in different directions. Some collided with others. The perfect formation became chaos. "Now," Dong-hyun ordered, "all ships execute Battle Plan Omega." The human fleet split into 2 groups. Captain Jinwoo took the Steadfast and Stormbringer to the left. Dong-hyun led the Iron Will and Retribution to the right. Admiral Taemin and the coalition ship stayed in the center. Classic pincer movement, Jong-ho observed. Divide and conquer. The Vorthan fleet was too large to turn quickly. As they tried to face the human ships on both sides, they exposed their flanks to the coalition forces in the center. "Coalition ships, you are clear to engage," Dong-hyun ordered. Admiral Taemin smiled grimly. "All coalition vessels, weapons free. For everyone who died at their hands." Space filled with weapons fire. But this time it was different. The coalition ships were protected by human point defense systems. The human ships targeted Vorthan command vessels with their powerful kinetic weapons, and Captain Minho's fighters swarmed around the enemy fleet like angry insects. "Direct hit on Vorthan flagship," reported Captain Unji. "Emperor Mordak's ship is damaged but still fighting." The battle became 3 separate fights. On the left, Captain Jinwoo used the Steadfast long-range weapons to pick off enemy ships one by one. His methodical approach slowly reduced Vorthan numbers. On the right, Captain Yoonji brought the Retribution in close to the enemy. Her ship took heavy damage but dealt even more in return. Vorthan vessels exploded around her as she carved through their formation. In the center, Admiral Taemin led coalition forces in their first real victory of the war. Protected by human technology and inspired by human courage, they fought like they never had before. But the Vorthans had numbers. Even with communication problems and tactical disadvantages, they had too many ships. Slowly, the human fleet began to take damage. Captain, we've lost 2 fighter squadrons, reported Captain Minho. The Stormbringer has taken hits to our launch bays. Steadfast reporting multiple hull breaches, added Captain Jinwoo. We're still fighting, but we can't take much more of this. Dong-hyun looked at the tactical display. They were winning, but not fast enough. The Vorthans were adapting to the electronic warfare. Their communication was slowly improving. Yoonji, what's your status? He asked. Captain Eunji's voice was strained. Retribution has lost main engines. Life support is failing, but we're still in the fight. Fall back and make repairs. Negative, Captain. I'm in perfect position to hit their command ship. Dong-hyun understood what she meant. The Retribution was badly damaged and could not retreat. But she was close to Emperor Mordak's flagship. Yoonji, don't do anything stupid. Too late for that, sir. All crew to escape pods. I'm taking this ship in. Captain Eunji, no. Admiral Taemin called out. We can find another way. But Yoonji had already made her choice. The Retribution turned toward the Vorthan Emperor's ship and accelerated at full power. Escape pods launched from the human vessel as it raced toward its target. The Vorthans tried to stop her. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes hit the Retribution again and again. But the ship kept coming. For humanity! Yoonji's voice came over the communication channel one last time. The Retribution hit Emperor Mordak's flagship at full speed. Both ships disappeared in a massive explosion that could be seen across the entire battlefield. When the light faded, both vessels were gone. For a moment, the battle stopped. Then Admiral Taemin's voice filled the communication channels. Coalition reinforcements arriving. All ships, press the attack. New ships dropped out of hyperspace. Coalition vessels rebuilt with human technology and crewed by beings who had learned to fight like humans. The tide of battle turned. Without their emperor and with their communications still disrupted, the Vorthon fleet began to retreat. The largest fleet in galactic history ran from 4 human ships and their coalition allies. Captain Dong-hyun watched them go. They had won, but the cost was high. Captain Yoonji and her crew were gone. Many coalition ships were damaged or destroyed. Sir, Jung-ho reported. Long-range sensors show the Vorthon fleet is in full retreat. The battle is over. Dong-hyun nodded. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. Captain Dong-hyun stood on the bridge of the Iron Will and watched the Vorthon plasma torpedoes racing toward his ship. His crew was calm and ready. They had trained for this moment for years, even though they had never expected to face aliens. Tactical report, he said to his weapons officer. Sir, 63 enemy vessels in attack formation, reported Lieutenant Commander Jung-ho. They're using plasma-based weapons. Energy output is significant, but not beyond our defensive capabilities. Dong-hyun nodded. The Iron Will had been built to fight against Earth's most advanced warships. These alien weapons looked impressive, but they were actually less powerful than what humans used against each other. Engineering? Status report, he called. All systems green. Captain, replied Chief Engineer Subin from the engine room. Fusion reactors at full power. Plasma hybrid weapons charged and ready. Point defense systems online. Communications, any response from the coalition forces? Cultural specialist Bo-ram looked up from her station. Sir, they're maintaining position and observing. I'm detecting elevated stress patterns in their transmissions. They appear to be surprised by our presence. Dong-hyun almost smiled. Surprised was probably not the right word. According to their intelligence reports, most species in this galaxy thought humans were just stories. Today they would learn the truth. Captain, incoming plasma torpedoes in 30 seconds, Jung-ho announced. Permission to engage defensive systems? Granted. Show them what human point defense looks like. The bridge crew watched their screens as dozens of plasma torpedoes approached the Iron Will. Each torpedo was as large as a small fighter craft and packed with enough energy to destroy a coalition cruiser. The Vorthons had fired everything they had. Point defense engaging, Jung-ho reported. Suddenly, space around the Iron Will filled with streaks of light. The ship's point defense system had been designed to stop thousands of incoming missiles at once. Human wars had taught them that enemies would always try to overwhelm defenses with massive attacks, so humans had built defenses that could handle massive attacks. Laser turrets, particle beams, and kinetic interceptors filled space with deadly light. Every single Vorthon torpedo disappeared in bright flashes. Not one reached the human ship. All incoming weapons destroyed, Jung-ho reported. No damage to our vessel. On the main screen, Dong-hyun could see the Vorthon ships. They had stopped moving forward. Even across space, he could imagine their confusion. Their most powerful weapons had been swatted away like insects. "Sir, receiving transmission from the Vorthan commander," Boram reported. "Put it through." The alien appeared on screen. This time he did not look confident. "What are you?" Vextar demanded. "What kind of shields can stop our plasma torpedoes?" Dong-hyun studied the alien commander. He had seen that look before, during Earth's final wars. It was the look of someone who had just realized they were not the strongest fighter in the room. "We are humans," Dong-hyun said simply. "You attacked coalition forces without cause. You will withdraw immediately or face retaliation." "Humans?" Vextar laughed, but it sounded nervous. "There are no humans. You are some kind of coalition trick. I assure you we are quite real. This is your final warning." Vextar's expression changed. Anger replaced confusion. "The Empire does not bow to anyone. All ships attack Formation Delta."
"Destroy this vessel!"
The transmission ended. Dong-hyun turned to his crew. "Well, we tried diplomacy. Jong-ho, weapons free. Target their engines first. Let's try to minimize casualties." "Sir, with respect," Jong-ho said, "they just tried to kill us. Why are we holding back?" "Because we're not like them," Dong-hyun replied. "We fight when we must, but we don't kill when we don't have to." The Vorthan fleet was moving again. This time they came in a coordinated attack pattern, trying to surround the Iron Will. They fired everything they had: plasma cannons, energy beams, and kinetic weapons. "Multiple incoming weapon systems," Jong-ho reported. "Point defense engaging." Again, space filled with light as human defensive systems destroyed the incoming attacks. But this time, the Iron Will fought back. "Firing magnetic accelerator cannons," Jong-ho announced. The human ship's main weapons were not energy-based like most galactic technology. They were kinetic weapons that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Tungsten rods, each one the size of a telephone pole, shot out at nearly the speed of light. The first rod hit a Vorthan cruiser in the engine section. It went completely through the ship and came out the other side. The alien vessel went dark and began drifting. "Direct hit on target 1. Enemy vessel disabled," Jong-ho reported. "Continue firing. Target their weapons and engines only." For the next 5 minutes, the Iron Will systematically disabled the Vorthan fleet. The aliens' shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. One by one, Vorthan ships lost power or weapons or both. The alien commander tried everything. He ordered ramming attacks, but the human ship was too fast. He tried to overwhelm their defenses with coordinated strikes. But human point defense systems had been built for much worse. He even ordered some ships to self-destruct near the human vessel. But their explosions could not penetrate the Iron Will's armor. Finally, with half his fleet disabled and drifting, Vextar made a decision. "All remaining ships retreat. Fall back to Rally Point 7. The surviving Vorthan vessels turned and ran. They disappeared into hyperspace as quickly as they could, leaving their damaged ships behind. Dong-hyun watched them go. "Stand down, weapons." Jong-ho scanned for survivors on the disabled ships. "Sir, detecting life signs on most vessels. Their life support appears to be functioning." "Good." "Boram, open a channel to the Coalition flagship." "Channel open, sir." "Coalition vessel Stellar Dawn. This is Captain Dong-hyun. We are preparing to render assistance to your damaged ships. Request permission to come aboard and coordinate rescue operations." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Captain Dong-hyun, this is Admiral Taemin. Permission granted. We would be honored to meet you." Dong-hyun turned to his crew. "Subin, prepare an engineering team to help with repairs. Jong-ho, security detail to escort me to the Coalition ship. Boram, bring your translation equipment. We're about to make first contact official." As the human shuttle prepared to launch, Dong-hyun looked out at the battlefield. Disabled Vorthan ships drifted among the wreckage of Coalition vessels. It was not the way he had hoped to meet new species, but it was how these things usually went for humans. They had come to help, and they had won a battle. Now came the harder part, winning the peace. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo stood before the largest gathering of alien leaders he had ever seen. The Great Hall on Nexus Prime could hold thousands, and today it was full. Representatives from dozens of species had come to hear about the humans who had appeared from nowhere and defeated a Vorthan fleet. "Honored delegates," Kyung-soo began. 3 days ago, our ship Iron Will responded to a Coalition distress call. We found your forces under attack by a superior enemy fleet. We intervened." The hall was silent. These beings had heard the reports, but seeing a human in person was different. Kyung-soo was tall and solid, with gray hair and old scars on his hands. He looked like someone who had seen many battles. Soo-jin, his translator, stood beside him. She was young but skilled with languages. Her job was to make sure nothing was lost in translation. With so many different species present, that was not easy. "Admiral Kyung-soo," said Council Leader Nexara, a tall Ephirian whose gaseous body glowed softly. "We are grateful for your assistance, but we must ask, where did humans come from? Why have we never encountered your species before?" "We come from a region of space you call the Empty Quarter," Kyung-soo replied. "Our home system is about 200 light years from your nearest colony. We have been watching galactic communications for 50 years, learning your languages and studying your cultures. Why did you not contact us sooner?" asked Prime Minister Kelmoth of the Quell Collective. His crystal body flashed curious green patterns. Kyung-soo paused. This was the difficult part to explain, because we were not sure you would understand us. Humans are different from other species we have observed. "Different how?" asked Admiral Taemin. He was sitting in the front row, still recovering from his injuries but insisting on attending. "We are a species that evolved through warfare," Kyung-soo said simply. "For most of our history, humans fought other humans. We became very good at it." Uncomfortable sounds filled the hall. Most coalition species found the idea of fighting their own kind disturbing. They had conflicts but usually solved them through negotiation or trade agreements. "I do not understand," said Representative Velkan of the Nereid Depths. "Why would you fight your own people?" Soo-jin stepped forward. "If I may explain, honored delegates, human civilization developed differently from yours. We had many separate groups on our homeworld and they competed for resources. This competition led to conflict, which led to better weapons and tactics. Over thousands of years, humans became expert warriors. But surely you moved past such primitive behavior?" asked Council Leader Nexara. "Eventually, yes," Kyung-soo replied. "About 100 years ago, humans achieved global unity. But we did not forget what we had learned about warfare. We turned that knowledge toward exploration and defense. And now you use it to help us," Admiral Taemin said. "If you will accept our help," Kyung-soo confirmed. "The Vorthan Empire is a threat to all free peoples. Humans have experience fighting enemies who show no mercy." Prime Minister Kelmoth's body flashed orange with worry. "Admiral Kyung-soo, the Vorthans have thousands of ships. They control half the galaxy. Even with your advanced weapons, how can you hope to defeat such numbers?" Kyung-soo smiled grimly. "Prime Minister, you are thinking about this war the wrong way. The Vorthans are used to fighting species like yourselves. Peaceful, civilized beings who prefer negotiation to violence. They have never fought humans. What is the difference?" asked Representative Velkan. "When coalition forces lose ships, you mourn for months," Kyung-soo replied. "When humans lose ships, we build more and attack harder. When the Vorthans destroy your colonies, you try to negotiate. When they destroy our colonies, we destroy theirs." The hall became very quiet. These concepts were foreign to most coalition species. The idea of accepting heavy casualties to achieve victory was difficult for them to understand. "You are saying you are willing to sacrifice many lives for victory?" asked Council Leader Nexara. "I am saying we understand the mathematics of warfare," Kyung-soo replied. "Sometimes losing a few lives saves many more. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to hit back harder than they hit you." Admiral Taemin stood up. "Delegates, I have seen human weapons in action. I have met their officers. They are not cruel or bloodthirsty, but they understand something we have forgotten. Sometimes you must fight to protect what you love." "And if we accept your help," asked Prime Minister Kelmoth, "what do you want in return?" "Trade agreements," Kyung-soo said. "Access to coalition technology and scientific knowledge. Colonies for human settlers in unclaimed systems. And formal membership in the coalition once this war is over." "That seems reasonable," Representative Velkan said. "But can you really defeat the Vorthan Empire?" Before Kyung-soo could answer, an aide hurried into the hall and whispered something to Admiral Taemin. The Admiral's face went pale. "What is it?" asked Council Leader Nexara. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive Vorthan fleet moving toward this system," Admiral Taemin announced. "Over 2,000 ships. Emperor Mordek himself is leading them." Panic filled the hall. Delegates talked frantically among themselves. Some were already planning evacuation routes. "Silence," Kyung-soo called out. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "How long until they arrive?" 6 days," Admiral Taemin replied. Good, that gives us time to prepare. Kyung-Soo turned to address the hall. Delegates, you asked if humans can defeat the Vorthan Empire. In 6 days you will have your answer. Admiral, Council Leader Nexara said nervously, that fleet is larger than anything seen in galactic history. How can you be so calm? Kyung-Soo looked around the hall at all the frightened faces. These beings had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. They thought war was about having the biggest fleet or the most advanced technology. Council Leader, humans spent 10,000 years learning how to fight wars. We learned that numbers are not everything. We learned about logistics, tactics, and combined operations. We learned how to turn an enemy's strength against them. And if you lose? Asked Prime Minister Kelmoth. Then we lose fighting, Kyung-Soo replied. But we will not lose. He turned to Admiral Taemin. Admiral, I need to contact my fleet. 3 more human ships are approaching this system. When they arrive, we will show the galaxy what humans can do. As the delegates filed out of the hall, many were still afraid. But some, like Admiral Taemin, looked thoughtful. They had heard something in the human admiral's voice that they had not heard in years. Confidence. The Vorthons were coming with their largest fleet ever assembled. But they had never fought humans before. In 6 days that would change. The stars were dying around Admiral Taemin. Not really dying, but the bright flashes of exploding ships made it look that way. He stood on the bridge of his flagship Stellar Dawn and watched another coalition cruiser disappear in a ball of fire and metal. Admiral, we lost the deep current, reported his communications officer Haewon. Her blue skin looked pale, which was never a good sign for a Nereid. Captain Veltar and his crew. There were no escape pods. Taemin closed his eyes for a moment. The deep current had been a good ship with a brave crew. Now it was just space dust. He opened his eyes and looked at the tactical display. Red dots surrounded the few remaining green ones. The Vorthan Empire had them completely surrounded. How many ships do we have left? He asked. 14, sir, answered Lieutenant Kixon, his Quell tactical officer. The crystal being's body flashed orange patterns of worry. The Vorthans still have over 60 vessels, 3 years. They had been fighting this war for 3 years, and the coalition was losing badly. The Vorthans were too strong, too many, and too cruel. They destroyed everything in their path and enslaved anyone who survived. Half the galaxy already belonged to them. Taemin had been fighting them since the beginning. He had watched the Vorthans destroy entire worlds just to make a point. He had seen refugee ships blown up because the Empire did not want to deal with prisoners. He had lost too many friends and too many good people. Sir, incoming message from the Vorthon command ship, Haewon said. Put it through. The main screen showed a large gray-skinned alien with too many teeth. War Commander Vextar smiled in a way that made Taemin's skin crawl. Admiral Taemin, the Vorthan said, you have fought well, but this is over. Surrender now and your people will have quick deaths. Continue fighting and we will make them suffer. Taemin looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but still ready to fight. These people had families back home. They had dreams and hopes that the Vorthons would crush without thinking twice. I need some time to consider your offer, Taemin said. Vextar laughed. You have 10 minutes. Then we finish this. The screen went dark. Taemin turned to his crew. They all looked at him with trust in their eyes. They believed he could save them somehow. He wished he could. Haewon, prepare a final message to Coalition High Command, he said quietly. Tell them we fought as hard as we could. Tell them not to forget what happened here. Yes, sir, she said, her voice shaking. Taemin walked to the front of the bridge and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his homeworld was waiting for news. His wife and children were probably watching the communication feeds, hoping for good news. They would not get any. Admiral, Haewon suddenly shouted. I'm getting a strange reading on the long-range sensors. What kind of reading? Something big is coming through hyperspace. Really big. The energy signature is... I've never seen anything like this before. Lieutenant Kixon's crystal body flashed bright blue. Confirmed, Admiral. Unknown vessel approaching our position. Estimated size. This can't be right. What is it? Sir, the computer says it's larger than a Vorthan dreadnought. Much larger. Taemin felt a small spark of hope in his chest, but he pushed it down. Hope was dangerous in a situation like this. Could it be coalition reinforcements? No, sir. The energy signature doesn't match any coalition design. It doesn't match Vorthan design either. On the tactical display, a new contact appeared. It was moving fast toward their position. Whatever it would arrive in less than 5 minutes. Sir, HFY said, the Vorthons have noticed it too. They're scanning the approaching vessel. Any communication from the unknown ship? Nothing yet, sir. Taemin watched the tactical display. The unknown contact was getting closer. The Vorthons had stopped shooting at his ships and were forming a defensive formation. They were scared of something they did not recognize. That was unusual for the Empire. Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission, HFY said. Her voice was confused. It's on an open channel. All ships are receiving it. Put it through. The bridge went quiet. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was speaking in perfect Coalition standard, but with an accent Taemin had never heard before. This is Captain Dong Hyun of the Human Confederation battleship Iron Will. We have received your distress call. Prepare for immediate assistance. Silence filled the bridge. Taemin stared at the communication station. Did he just say human? Yes, sir, HFY whispered. But that's impossible. Humans are just stories, legends. Every child in Coalition space knew the stories about humans. They were supposed to be mythical warriors from a distant part of the galaxy. Some said they were peaceful explorers. Others said they were terrible fighters who could not be defeated. Most adults believed they were just stories told to children. Sir, the vessel is dropping out of hyperspace, Kixan reported. The main screen automatically switched to external view. What Taemin saw made him take a step backward. The ship that appeared was enormous. It was dark gray and covered in weapon ports. It looked like it had been built for one purpose: war. By the depths, HFY whispered in her native language. The human ship was 3 times larger than the biggest Vorthon dreadnought. Its design was different from anything in Coalition or Vorthon space. It looked solid and practical, like a hammer made of metal and death. Sir, the Vorthons are hailing the human ship, HFY reported. Let's hear what they have to say. Vextar appeared on screen again, but now he looked worried. Unknown vessel. This is War Commander Vextar of the Vorthon Empire. You are interfering in Imperial business. Leave immediately or face the consequences. The response came quickly. The human captain's voice was calm and steady. Negative. You will cease hostilities against Coalition forces immediately, or face the consequences. Taemin almost smiled. This human, whoever he was, had just told the entire Vorthon fleet to stop fighting or else. Either he was very brave or very stupid. You dare threaten the Empire? Vextar roared. You will learn what happens to those who oppose us. The screen went dark. On the tactical display, Taemin watched as the Vorthon fleet turned toward the human ship. All 60 vessels were moving to attack position. Admiral, should we help them? Asked Kixan. Taemin looked at his remaining 14 ships, then at the massive human battleship. I don't think they need our help. The human ship did not move as the Vorthons approached. It just waited like a mountain waiting for the storm to come. All ships hold position and observe, Taemin ordered. I have a feeling we're about to see something interesting. The first Vorthon torpedoes launched. Bright streaks of plasma raced toward the human ship. Taemin held his breath and waited to see what would happen next. Admiral Dong Hyun stood on the observation deck of the new starbase Unity's Edge and watched construction ships working in space. 1 year had passed since the Battle of the Seventh Gate, and the galaxy was changing in ways nobody had expected. The starbase was a joint project between humans and the Coalition. Human engineering and Coalition technology working together had created something neither could build alone. It was beautiful and powerful at the same time. Admiral, called Commander HFY as she approached. The Nariad officer now wore a uniform that mixed Coalition and human designs. The morning briefing is ready. Thank you, Commander. Any word from the peace talks? Yes, sir. Ambassador So Young reports progress. The Vorthon delegation has agreed to discuss territorial boundaries. Dong Hyun smiled. A year ago, the Vorthons would never have agreed to peace talks. Now, with their empire falling apart and rebellions on dozens of worlds, they had little choice. The 2 officers walked through the starbase corridors. Humans and aliens worked side by side everywhere they looked. In the engineering sections, Chief Engineer Subin was teaching Coalition officers about human fusion reactors. In the medical bay, Coalition doctors were learning human battlefield medicine. It's strange to see everyone getting along so well, HFY observed. Not strange, Dong Hyun replied. People are the same everywhere. They want safety, food, and hope for their children. Species doesn't matter as much as we thought. They entered the command center where the morning briefing was taking place. Representatives from 12 different species sat around a large table, discussing patrol routes and supply problems like old friends. "Admiral on deck," announced Lieutenant Commander Jong-ho. The human weapons officer had been promoted after the battle and now served as the Starbase's tactical coordinator. "As you were," Dong-hyun said. "What's the situation?" Captain Taemin, now wearing the uniform of a coalition human joint commander, stood up. "Sir, the Vorthon 6th Fleet has retreated to the Corvin system. Intelligence suggests they're preparing for a final stand." "How many ships?" "About 300 vessels, but most are damaged or low on supplies. Our blockade has been effective." The blockade was another example of human thinking applied to galactic warfare. Instead of just fighting Vorthon fleets, humans had cut off their supply lines. Without fuel, food, and replacement parts, even the mighty Vorthon war machine was grinding to a halt. "Any civilian populations in that system?" Dong-hyun asked. "Approximately 2 million Vorthons on the colony worlds," replied cultural specialist Bo-ram. "Our intelligence indicates they are not hostile. Many are refugees from other battles. Then we offer them sanctuary. Jong-ho, prepare humanitarian supply ships. We help everyone who needs it, even former enemies." This was something the coalition had learned from humans. Before the war, they would have been afraid to help Vorthon civilians. Humans had taught them that showing mercy to non-combatants was not weakness, but strength. "Admiral," said a new voice from the communication station. "Incoming priority message from Earth." Dong-hyun walked to the communication console. On the screen appeared Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo, broadcasting from the human home system. "Admiral Dong-hyun," Kyung-soo said, "I have news. The Earth Council has approved the colonial expansion project. The first civilian colony ships will depart next month." "Excellent news, sir. How many colonists?" 2 million in the first wave. 50,000 families ready to start new lives among the stars. They'll be coming to systems the coalition has designated for human settlement. This was part of the agreement humans had made with the coalition. In exchange for military protection, humans would receive worlds suitable for their people. It was a fair trade that benefited everyone. After the communication ended, Dong-hyun turned back to his staff. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored colleagues, we are witnessing history. For the first time, humans will live alongside other species as equals and allies." "Sir," asked Commander Haewon, "what about the Vorthon Empire? Will they ever join the coalition?" Before Dong-hyun could answer, Bo-ram looked up from her station. "Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission from the Vorthon Peace Delegation. They want to talk. Put it through." The screen showed a Vorthon officer, but this one looked different from the ones they had fought. He wore simple clothes instead of armor, and his expression was tired rather than angry. "I am General Carthan of what remains of the Vorthon military," he said. "I speak for those who wish to end this war." "Go ahead, General," Dong-hyun replied. "Admiral, my people have learned something in this past year. We learned that conquest is not the same as victory. We conquered many worlds, but we never won their hearts. Now those worlds rebel against us. What are you proposing?" "Complete surrender of all Imperial forces. Release of all conquered territories. War crimes trials for those responsible for atrocities, and a request to join the coalition as a member species." The command center went quiet. Nobody had expected this. "General," Dong-hyun said carefully, "you understand that joining the coalition means accepting their laws and principles? No more slavery, no more conquest, no more killing of innocent people?" "We understand, Admiral. Many of my people are tired of war. They want to build instead of destroy. They want their children to grow up in peace." Dong-hyun looked around the command center at his mixed crew. Humans and aliens working together. Former enemies becoming friends. It was what they had all hoped for. "General Carthan, I will pass your message to the Coalition Council and to Ambassador So-young. The decision is not mine alone to make." "I understand, Admiral. We will wait for your answer." The transmission ended. Captain Taemin shook his head in amazement. A year ago, they were trying to kill us all. Now they want to join us. "That's what victory really looks like," Dong-hyun said. "Not defeating your enemies, but turning them into friends." 3 months later, Admiral Dong-hyun stood in the same spot on the observation deck. But now he was not alone. Ambassador So-young stood beside him, along with representatives from dozens of species. The ceremony went well, So-young observed. I never thought I would see Vorthans taking the coalition oath of membership. Neither did I, Dong-hyun admitted. But humans have learned that anyone can change if given the chance. In space before them, the first human colony ship was preparing to depart for its new home. The New Horizon would carry 10,000 humans to a world they would share with Quell crystal farmers and Nereid ocean cities. Admiral, So Young said, do you ever regret coming to this part of space? Your people could have stayed hidden and safe. Dong-hyun watched the colony ship as it turned toward the stars. Ambassador, humans learned long ago that there is no safety in hiding. There is only safety in standing together with those who share your values. The New Horizon engaged its hyperspace drive and disappeared toward its new home. It was followed by messages of good luck from a dozen different species. Besides, Dong-hyun added with a smile, the galaxy is a much more interesting place with friends. As the sun set on the starbase, Admiral Dong-hyun reflected on the past year. They had come as warriors, but they had stayed as builders. They had fought a war, but they had won a peace. And in the vast darkness of space, new lights were beginning to shine.